welcome everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Leon Marshall. I'm a sports science lecturer. I lecture on the sport and exercise science degree course at London South Bank University. And I'm also the author of the Hidden Science of Melanin. So this is my debut book. And this is going to be a short presentation on the books that influenced my book. So I'm going to be talking about some Black holistic health books that helped me to write my book, The Hidden Science of Melanin. And then we're going to open up the floor for some Q&As for you guys to ask any questions that you have. So, again, for those who don't know me, I do study science. I study science at university. But when I was studying science at university, I found that it was very confusing. So when I left university, I started to work at a university. I made sure that I taught science in a very simplified way. So when I do events at my university, they are very well attended. And if I'm being honest, the reason why they are very well attended is because people are sick and tired of being told lies with regards to how their body works. And the way I break down science, I break it down in a very simplified way that even a 5-year-old can understand. So when we put on our events, they are very well attended. These are pictures from my university. So I'll just book out a lecture theatre and put on an event or put on a lecture, and people get to learn about the true science. And the books that helped me along this journey, because again, when I was at university, I was super confused when it came to science. I was just so confused. And it was because of the way they taught it to me. So when I left university now, I went on a self-discovery journey, and I started to read books that were recommended by my family members, by my sisters and that sort of stuff. And one of the books that my family members recommended was this book here, by Dr. Laila Africa, and it's called Nutricide, The Nutritional Destruction of the Black Race, yeah? And it's a very powerful book, and he breaks down all the ways in which we are dying from the food that we're eating. And I'm just gonna show you a little excerpt from the book. And it says, it's kind of cut off there, but I'll read it. It says, "We are dying a slow death by the foods we eat. It is a very slow suicide, hence we don't have the same adverse reaction to it as a quick suicide." So throughout the book, he just breaks down the foods that are leading to this, what he calls a slow death, yeah? And I'm gonna go through some of them. So he says, and this is straight from his book, by the way, there's a section called Foods That Kill. Foods that kill. And he says, refined starches. It says white bread, white rice, white pasta, and anything made with white flour act a lot like sugar once the body starts to digest them. Therefore, just like sugar, refined starches interfere with glucose control and should be avoided by those with any metabolic disorders like diabetes. And when you look in the supermarkets, we're pretty much eating all of these things that he was saying to avoid. And these books that I'm about to show you are very old books. They were written in the 80s, some of them were written in the 90s, and he was saying we need to avoid those things. And now these refined starches is in nearly all of the foods that we eat, yeah? So things like white bread, white rice, white pasta, and a lot of stuff is made with white flour. And there's a part in his book where he says, the whiter the bread, the quicker you're dead. So that's a quote from his book. Yeah? The whiter the bread, the quicker you're dead. So for those of you who are interested in that book is by Dr. Laila Africa, and it's called Nutricide. Once I read that, I was like, who is this guy? This book is so powerful. So I started to realize this guy's got many books on holistic health. And one of his most famous books is this one, African Holistic Health, yeah? And these books that I'm referencing, they're not books to read from start to finish. These books are big, they're quite thick books, and I use them as reference points. Anytime I've got an issue or a family member has an issue, I can look in these books, yeah? So it's called African Holistic Health, and it breaks down the herbs, the vitamins, the minerals, the foods that we should be eating, yeah? He's got recipes in this book, and he even breaks down your sexual personality types. Foods to avoid, I kind of went through some of them. Self-diagnosis charts, Mel Cycle, yeah, and some other stuff as well. So these were two very powerful books that kind of changed my consciousness, helped me to understand health from a black perspective, because when I was at school, college and university, they weren't really teaching it to the point where I could understand it. So when I read these books now, it helped me understand health from a whole new perspective, yeah? Same authors, Dr. Laila Africa. And for those of you who are interested, you might start looking for this book, African Holistic Health, and you may not, well, you'll find it, but it might be like this, because this is the newer version. So it's the same book, just like a new addition to it. But look at all the things that this book goes through. Disease remedies using herbs, vitamins, minerals, yeah? So any disease that you're suffering from, you could literally go in this book and it will give you the herbs, not only the herbs, but the vitamins and the minerals that you need to reverse that disease. Sometimes they say, like, where's the best place to hide the truth? And some people will say in a book. Loads of people are suffering from health issues, and literally this book was written in, like, I think the 90s, and it's got all the solutions with regards to what herbs, what foods we should be eating, that sort of stuff, how you can diagnose yourself, yeah, dangers of white sugar and that sort of stuff. He's even got another book, and this book is even bigger than this one, called The Complete Textbook of Holistic Self-Diagnosis. And this is his wife, by the way, and he used his wife's face as like a face map. And not too many people are familiar with face maps, but from your face, when you map it out like this, again, using his book as self-diagnosis, it will determine, it can tell you from your face what organ needs attention, what organ actually needs help with regards to energy, what organ is failing, what organ is having issues. So, for example, you guys can do this at home. Just take a picture of your face or look at your face in the mirror, and all of these things relate to your organs. So if you've got an issue, let's say you've got an issue around your lips, your bottom lip, that's to do with your large intestines. Your top lip is to do with your stomach, yeah? Some people might get bumps around their mouth. That's to do with your duodenum, so that's your small intestines, and your sexual organs, if you're getting bumps around your mouth. What's your nose to do with? Your nose is to do with your heart, yeah? So you could kind of diagnose yourself with this, and this is just one part of this book. This book is so powerful. So like it says there, simple, easy to use diagnosis methods for non-professionals and professionals to use, yeah? So you could diagnose yourself, not just with your face, but he's got nails where you can look at your nails and you can know what's going on with certain organs. You look at your hands, you can look at your feet, like literally every part of your body. You could diagnose yourself using this book. And again, when I was using these books, they're not books to read from start to finish. These are books to have in your collection, especially if you've got a family, and just reference them. Anytime there's a health issue in the family, let's go to the book. Let's see what's going on. Yeah? Let's look at the person's eyes. Let's look at the person's face. You can literally diagnose yourself. Very powerful book. Yeah? And then obviously, because I was reading these books by Dr. Laila Africa, he does mention melanin in Nutricide and in the African Holistic Health book. So I was like, and this was decades ago, I was like, well, what is melanin? He's got 2 books on melanin. So what makes black people black? And then this one's the biochemical that makes black people black. So they're kind of like the same book. This one's a bit smaller and more simplified. This one goes into more science. But as it says there, when you read these books, it will tell you how to protect it and nourish it, difference between black and white people, how it causes emotional behaviors and thoughts, and how it is being destroyed. And if you want to hear from the man himself, this is him here. This is an old clip from one of his lectures way back. He's transitioned. He's now with the ancestors. But listen to what he says about melanin. Listen.
Melanin is commonly associated with the pigment that causes your skin to be brown. So we figure that that's what melanin is about. But it's a little more than just the pigment that makes your skin brown. It's what we call the chemical key to life. The more melanin you have, the more civilized you are. The more melanin you have, the more psychic you are. The more melanin you have, the more information your brain can store. The more melanin you have, the faster the nerve transmissions are. The more melanin you have, the more sound you absorb in your ear, so you hear the full range of sound. No other race can do that. The more melanin you have, the more color you can absorb in your eyes. That's why your eyes are brown. You actually see the full color.
And because of that, I was so inspired by his books, I created this course called The Hidden Science of Black Holistic Health. This was over a decade ago. I created this course called The Hidden Science of Black Holistic Health, and I broke down a lot of the stuff that I was learning from his books, and obviously that helped me to write my book as well, Melanin. But as he was saying there, melanin is not just your skin. A lot of people just, if I was to ask people what's melanin, oh, it's, you know, it's the thing that makes your skin black, or it's the thing that makes your skin and hair have color. Because everyone has melanin. Everyone has melanin, whether it's in their skin, their eyes, their hair. But again, because we're not being taught the truth with regards to melanin, a lot of people think it's just the skin and it's just to protect us from the sun. Nothing could be further from the truth. The more you learn about melanin, the more you realize if it's not for melanin, you wouldn't be able to see. It's the melanin in your eyes that allows you to see. If it's not for melanin, you wouldn't be able to hear. It's the melanin in your ears that allows you to absorb those sound frequencies. If it wasn't for melanin, you wouldn't be able to taste. It's the melanin in your taste buds that allows you to taste. So now you start to realize, wait, melanin is not just this skin thing that protects us from the sun. It's literally every part of our body, and it's literally, you could argue, the most important thing as well. It's like when you're teaching children about plants. You can't teach children about plants without telling them about photosynthesis and the green pigment in photosynthesis called chlorophyll. That determines everything. It absorbs sunlight, and then there's a chemical reaction that happens inside of the plant that results in glucose and oxygen. Every child is taught that at school. Because how else are you going to understand the universe? How else are you going to understand everything you see, whether it's trees, fruits and vegetables, if you don't know photosynthesis? Well, the same should be said with regards to melanin. How are you going to understand how your body works if you don't know the thing that's literally energizing or charging up your whole body or doing most of the work in your whole body? This is the reason why you can see. Whether you've got blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever eyes, if you don't have melanin in your eyes, you're not going to be able to see. If you don't have melanin in your ears, you're not going to be able to hear. If you don't have melanin in your brain, that's when you start suffering from neurological issues. That's the reason why they link Parkinson's disease to something called substantia nigra. Substantia nigra is the black pigment that's in your brain. Yeah? As soon as that starts to fade, you start to have neurological issues. So this becomes more important than just some skin thing. Yeah? And don't take it from me. The experts are saying that this thing is more important. And because, again, we're being told that melanin blocks sunlight. It doesn't. It absorbs sunlight the same way chlorophyll absorbs sunlight. And then there's a chemical reaction that takes place that results in some form of energy being produced. Melanin is involved in energy production. It's involved in energy transduction. And the experts will be telling you, depending on where you look, because a lot of the experts, they may know this stuff and they won't tell you, but some people do. Listen to what this guy said with regards to how they're starting to use melanin.
Melanin pigment, right, or it's so unbelievable, George. They use it in computer chips now because it has an ability to transduce electrical energy. Can you imagine this? It has this incredible ability to hold on to and transduce and manipulate electrons, electronic energy, and photons, photonic energy. It's a fascinating molecule.
So, look at that. If the science community are using it to put in computer chips, there's no way it can just be a skin thing. It can't just be, oh, we have melanin in our skin to protect us from the sun. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they then use that and put it in computer chips? Obviously, there's some form of energetic electrical power to it, yeah? And the experts are telling us. And this is the reason why I put together the course, The Hidden Science of Black Holistic Health, because again, No one's teaching us this stuff, but yet it's super, super important. And what was amazing is I created this course over 10 years ago, and then Brother Emmanuel, who was here earlier, big up Brother Emmanuel, he put on an event and he invited Dr. Leila Africa, when he was still with us, to speak at this event. So he brought him over from America, and he got Dr. Leila Africa to speak. So when I heard that Dr. Leila Africa was going to be in London, this was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I was like, I've got to be there. So when I went there now, I spoke to Dr. Leila Africa. I was like, bro, you're the reason why I'm doing this course. Yeah, I love your books. You helped me to understand myself from a black perspective. You're the reason why I'm putting together this book. And Dr. Leila Africa was blown away. He was like, wow, you used my books to help you put together this course? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm so appreciative of what you've done. And he was like, I want to help you. Let me help you promote your course. And if you know Dr. Leila Africa, you know he's not like that. Dr. Leila Africa doesn't do interviews. Like, he won't just do something make a video for you just like that. He's just not that type. As he got older in his older age, because he felt like he was putting all the information, all the solutions in his books, and sometimes people still were getting sick or people were still asking questions, he was getting a bit frustrated because he's like, why are you sick? I've put all the information in my books. Why are you guys still eating the same foods that I told you guys to avoid 20 years ago? So as he got older, he got to a point where he was just like, no, I'm not doing interviews. And he kind of had that kind of old man stuck in his old ways sort of thing. But when I told him how his books helped me and how it helped me put together my course, he was like, let me help you. I want to help you. So Dr. Leila Africa, the guy who helped me put together this course, actually did a video for me. This is like a testimonial. And this is him. Listen.
Hello, I am Leila Africa, and I'm grateful that you're using the information in the Hidden Science course being taught. I highly recommend it. It is a source of all information you need to help you personally. So please take the Hidden Science of holistic health.
And again, if you know Dr. Leila Africa, he does not do things like that. So I was so appreciative of it. And it just showed that he moved me just like I moved him just like he moved me. His books helped me. And then when I showed him how his books helped me, he said, you know what, I want to help you. So he helped me put together this book, The Hidden Science of Melanin. Now, there's loads of books on melanin out there. So why did I decide to write a book on melanin? Well, someone once said to me that if you're going to write a book, especially if it's a topic that someone else has talked about, you have to come with a different angle. You can't just say the same thing as another book, because then why would people want to get your book? And there are various, as I'm sure many of you know, there are various books on melanin out there. So what makes my book different? So I had to read pretty much every book out there to make sure that when I put my book out there, I'm not saying the same things, So let me just go through some of the books that I had to read to make sure that I wasn't saying the same things or make sure that what I'm saying is accurate. There's a book by Dr. Jewel Pookrum. You've got that? You can find it on Amazon probably. It's very rare. With these rare books, I'm showing you very old books. Sometimes they're quite hard to find on Amazon. And if you do find them, they might cost a lot of money. So this book is a very small book, but you guys do your research. On Amazon, it might cost a little bit of money now. Dr. Jewel Pookrum is called Vitamins and Minerals from A to Z, And she breaks down the vitamins and minerals that you need, especially if you have high melanin. She calls it Ethno-Consciousness Series. Very powerful book, but very small, Another book that is going to be very hard to find, you guys can do your research and try and find it on Amazon, is this one. Melanin, the Chemical Key to Black Greatness. It's by Dr. Carol Barnes, He talks about the harmful effects of toxic drugs on melanin centers within the black human. Now, Someone told me, you guys can do your research, but someone told me that they went, because I talked about this on my podcast last week, and someone told me that they just searched it on Amazon and the book is over £500. This book is over £500 on Amazon. So I'm so glad that I got it a long time ago, so I don't have to pay £500 for it. But these are the books that I got my information from that helped me write my book, and that just shows you how powerful this book must be, where they're charging over £500 on Amazon for you to get it. But these are the books that helped me write my book. Now, what makes my book different from those books? Yeah, because those books, they break down, what melanin is and that sort of stuff. The difference with my one is that a lot of the stuff in my book, I break down in a very simplified way, and I use color images. And the reason why I use color images in my book is because when I was learning science at university, when I had a textbook, I'd look in the textbook and I'd see color images. They wouldn't be of me, they wouldn't be of someone who looked like me, but there'd be color images. You'd see the human body, you'd see the human brain, and all that sort of stuff. It helped me to understand anatomy and physiology when I'm seeing visuals, because I'm a visual person. So with my book, I made sure I put visuals in there. So throughout my book, which is available outside, you'll see visuals. Like, for example, this. This is an easy visual where everyone can understand the difference between the two types of skin melanin. Eumelanin comes in black and brown. Pheomelanin comes in red and yellow. And everyone has melanin. You either have eumelanin or pheomelanin or a combination of the two. Yeah, so everyone has melanin. Now, how simple is that? A child can understand that. Every child on this planet should know the difference between eumelanin and pheomelanin, and the fact that they've either got more eumelanin or more pheomelanin. But for whatever reason, they're not teaching us this stuff. But look how simple that is to understand. Yeah? And then vitamin D. They don't tell us the truth about vitamin D. This is an image from my book where it shows you how vitamin D is produced. Now again, everyone knows about this thing called vitamin D. Everyone's taught about vitamin D. Everyone knows how important vitamin D is, but no one knows how the body produces it. Isn't that crazy? No one knows how the body produces vitamin D. So let me just show you how the body produces vitamin D. When your melanin absorbs UVB radiation, in other words, you have to be out there in the sun, absorbing sunlight. When your melanin absorbs UVB radiation, it creates a vitamin D precursor. That vitamin D precursor is made from cholesterol. And then that precursor goes through your liver and kidneys, and then your kidneys secrete the active form of vitamin D. So vitamin D is actually not a vitamin, it's actually a process. And it starts with cholesterol. How many of us knew that? Imagine if every child knew that, the importance of cholesterol, how without cholesterol your body can't produce vitamin D. Yeah? So when you're out in the sun, your body produces vitamin D from cholesterol. And just think about that, because they tell us cholesterol is this bad thing, clogs up the arteries, blah, blah, blah. Without cholesterol, there's no vitamin D. I'll take it one step further. Cholesterol is the precursor to all of your hormones. Well, all of the steroid hormones. Vitamin D acts as a hormone. So without cholesterol, there's no vitamin D, which is a hormone. Without cholesterol, there's no estrogen. Without cholesterol, there's no testosterone. Without cholesterol, there's no cortisol. In other words, cholesterol becomes the star of the show when it comes to your hormones. Again, why do they not teach us this? So this is the reason why I feel like my book is easy to understand, because even though it is scientific, you can look at the image and say, okay, that's how your body produces vitamin D. And then just by looking at this image, you can understand all the ways in which we mess up this process. So anytime they say, black people are low on vitamin D, well, why? Let's find out. Are you out in the sun? No. Well, then obviously you're going to be low on vitamin D. We're here in the UK, we hardly get sun. We need to get more sun. That's one reason. Okay, are you out in the sun but you've got on sunscreen? Yes. Well, then that's going to block the process, because if you put on sunscreen, you block UVB radiation. So that's going to block the process of vitamin D. Or are you out in the sun, you haven't got on sunscreen, but you're on a cholesterol lowering drug, if you're on a statin drug? That's going to mess up the process because your body needs cholesterol to convert it into vitamin D. So anything that messes up your cholesterol is going to mess up your hormones, yeah? Let's say you're not on a cholesterol drug. Let's say you're not wearing sunscreen. Let's say you're out there and you're exposing your skin to UVB radiation. Now you've got to look at your kidneys, your liver and your kidneys, because those are the two main organs that synthesize vitamin D. How's your liver doing? In the UK, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol or you're eating a lot of processed foods, that's going to mess up your liver. So if you've got a messed up liver, you could be butt naked on a beach out in Jamaica and you still won't be able to produce vitamin D because you need your liver to be healthy. Now you're starting to see all the ways that you can be low on vitamin D. Notice I haven't said anything about your melanin because your melanin does not block sunlight. So it can't be your melanin, that's the reason why you're low on vitamin D. Yeah? Can't be. Your melanin absorbs sunlight. And the more melanin you have, the more sunlight you have because you need to absorb more. And then kidneys. How many people do you know who have kidney issues? If you've got any kidney issues, that's going to affect your vitamin D levels because it's actually your kidneys that secrete that vitamin D into your blood. So if you've got any liver or kidney issues, that's going to mess up your vitamin D levels. Now notice how simple that is to understand when you've got an image like that. And this is the reason why I've got these types of images in my book. And then I've got an image of all the ways in which your melanin absorbs the electromagnetic frequencies around us. So this is the image here. So these are all the ways, we call it the full spectrum of energy assimilation. This is all the ways in which your body assimilates energy. We assimilate energy from the sun. We assimilate energy from breathing. Everyone knows the importance of oxygen. We assimilate energy from the foods that we eat. In my book, I've actually got a section called Foods for Melanin. And mainly the main foods are highly pigmented foods from fruits and vegetables. And then we assimilate energy, for those of you who are spiritual, by direct from the cosmos. Yeah? And then lastly is through our feet, which they call grounding or earthing. These are all the ways in which we assimilate energy. Yeah? So when you're on the beach and you're walking barefoot on the beach, you don't even realize it, but you're getting electromagnetic energy coming through the sand, through your body, charging you up. Yeah? These are all the ways. Now, think about this. Again, when you look at something that's easy to understand like this, now you can think when someone is sick or someone is low on energy, now you can understand why they are. Okay, are you doing any deep breathing? No, I'm doing shallow breathing. Are you outside? No, I'm in the office all day. Okay, that's going to lock off a lot of oxygen. Are you getting sunlight? No, I'm not getting sunlight. I've been told that the sun causes cancer and I've got sunscreen on my skin. Okay, so that's going to stop you from absorbing a lot of this electromagnetic frequency. What foods are you eating? Are they highly pigmented? If I looked at your diet, would I see colors? Because a lot of the foods that we eat, they don't have color. They're either white or they're brown, chicken and red meat. They don't have pigmented colors from fruits and vegetables. So these are all the ways and then are you spiritual? Do you know that you could actually absorb vibrational frequencies or energy from the cosmos? All of the ways in which we absorb frequencies, and then think of all the ways we're getting cut off by these things. So we're in the house all day. We're on our phones all day. We're not eating the right foods. Yeah? We're not on the beach. We're not grounding. So think about it. If you're not getting this, how are you getting your energy? Where's your energy coming from? And again, this is the reason why I like to use not just images, but color images, because I feel like children will understand this. Young people will look at this and understand this. For example, these are images from my book, and it shows you how you see color. So when the sun is shining on any object, the sun releases what they call visible light. And visible light comes in these colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. We can't see them. We only see them when they're reflected back to us. So for example, if you're looking at a green plant, that green plant is absorbing the sunlight frequencies except for green. Green is being reflected back to your eye. Yeah? So when we're looking at a green plant, the only reason why we see green is because green's being reflected back to our eye. So what happens when we see red? When we see red, it's because that red object, in this example, an apple, is absorbing all of those sun frequencies except red. Red is being reflected back to your eye. Yeah? And when you think of these sun frequencies, you can think of them as just energy or different types of energy. So this is energy, they're all different types of energy. So the red energy is getting reflected back to your eye. What about blueberries? The blue energy is getting reflected back to your eye. Again, this is very simple to understand when you see it like this. And this is what makes my book different, because no other book on the planet has these types of color images where you can see it, especially from a black perspective, and be like, okay, I'm understanding science, but from a black perspective. Now, check this out. I've even got images of the brain. When have you ever seen an image like this in science? Again, I went to university, I studied science. Anytime I saw an image like this, it wasn't of a black person. But now you're seeing an image and you're seeing the inside of a brain of a black person. And this is basically showing you how important it is for us to get sunlight through the eyes. Because when we get sunlight through the eyes, it activates the pineal gland. When your pineal gland is activated, it starts a cascade effect of hormone release. One of the main hormones is melatonin that goes into your bloodstream, and there's a cascading effect that helps your body produce more melanin. These are all the things that make my book different. And I talked about the melanin in your brain. It's called neuromelanin, and there's actually 12 centers. And in my book, I break down the 12 different centers of melanin that are in your brain. And literally, they control everything. So the neuromelanin in your brain controls the way you move. The neuromelanin controls the way you talk. The neuromelanin controls memory. The neuromelanin controls motivation. It controls your mood. It controls everything. 12 neuromelanin centers, and you may not have heard of one of them. 12. We've got 12, and they don't teach about one of them. And the only one they don't even teach about it. The only one they do mention is substantia nigra. And the only reason why they mention that is because of Parkinson's disease. Because a lot of Europeans are starting to suffer from Parkinson's disease, so they have to mention why. The reason why is because they're lacking in substantia nigra. That's the only reason why they mention substantia nigra. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't even mention it. Yeah? And there's another thing that makes my book different, and I think this is the biggest thing, by the way. The biggest thing that my book mentions is a secret system that says body. Secret system in the body that you've never heard of. A secret system in the body that you've never heard of. If you got my book, then obviously you know. But if you don't, this is a secret system, and it's arguably the most important system in your body. Everyone knows about the nervous system. Everyone knows about the muscular system. Everyone knows about the skeletal system, your bones. Everyone knows about the cardiovascular system, which is your heart and your blood vessels. But this system regulates all of them. This is the system that regulates every other system in your body, and you've never heard of it. It's called the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system. And it regulates every single system in your body to the point where it just wants to maintain what they call in science homeostasis, a sense of balance. Yeah? So anytime there's something that's out of balance, the endocannabinoid system activates to try and bring things back into balance. Yeah? And there's one reason why you haven't, well, there's actually two. But there's one main reason why you haven't heard of this system. And what do you think that is? The main reason why you haven't heard of this system, it kind of cuts it off near the end there. But just look at the name of it. It's called endocannabinoid. N-O-I-D. Endocannabinoid system. Endocannabinoid system. Now, in science, the easiest way to understand science is to break down the language. Because I believe that once you break down the language, you can understand what the scientist who made up the term is actually saying. In science, anytime you see the word endo in front of a word, the prefix endo, that's to do with inside of the body. Endo means inside, internal. And then the last part, which is cut off there, is noid, N-O-I-D. Anytime you see noid at the end of a word, or O-I-D, that means resembling or like. Yeah? So I've just told you about the prefix and the suffix. The prefix means inside. That's the beginning of the word. The suffix means resembling or like. Yeah? That's the end of the word. So now we just need to understand the middle of the word. Yeah? So there's something inside of you that resembles or is like something else. Yeah? So let's just decipher that middle part now. Cannabis. What's that to do with? Cannabis. Cannabis. Is that to do with cannabis? Endocannabinoid system is to do with cannabis. In other words, there's a system inside of you that releases chemicals that resemble or are like the chemicals released from this plant. Now, why would you have a system in you that resembles cannabis? Because this cannabis plant, which is a plant, they'll tell you it's a drug, this cannabis plant releases powerful chemicals that if you was to consume them, they'd help to bring your body in a state of homeostasis. The same thing the endocannabinoid system does. This is the reason why those who do smoke, I'm sure every one of us knows someone who smokes weed, what do they say they feel like after smoking? Calm, relaxed. Because that's what your endocannabinoid system is supposed to do. It's supposed to bring you into a state of harmony, bring you into a state of peace. That is what this plant does. But 99.9% of the people don't realize is your body can do that without the plant, because you have this thing called the endocannabinoid system inside of you, which releases these chemicals, which are like the chemicals in cannabis. In other words, you, if you really know how to activate this system, you could put yourself on a natural high. You wouldn't even need to smoke weed. You could put yourself on a natural high, understanding the endocannabinoid system. So now I'm hoping you understand why they don't teach us this, because everything goes up in the air if we say, okay, we've got a system that utilizes cannabis. Now all the propaganda around this plant has to go out the window. Why would we have a system that utilizes this dangerous drug that no one should be using? I mean, come on. And to be fair, things are changing now. People are using it anyway. Maybe they don't realize why they're using it. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of CBD oil. Yeah? CBD is one of the cannabinoids in cannabis. It's one of the cannabinoids in cannabis, which allows you to, helps you with depression, anxiety, pain, seizures, all that sort of stuff. How many people you know use CBD oil, which is very powerful? And in the cannabis plant, there are various what they call cannabinoids. In other words, cannabis chemicals. So CBD is only one of them. There's one called THC as well. Now, if you smoke, you're familiar with THC. THC is the one that actually gives you that high. When people talk about a high from smoking, that's from THC, which is a cannabis chemical. Yeah, THC and CBD. Those are the two main ones that people know about. But do you know there's hundreds? There are hundreds of cannabinoids in this plant, and we only know about two, THC and CBD. And a lot of people know about CBD because a lot of people are starting to use CBD oil for seizures. A lot of people are starting to use CBD oil for pain, anxiety, to help them after surgery, all that sort of stuff. For cancers, people are starting to use CBD oil. And these are just examples of some of the other cannabinoids. Okay, they've cut it off there, but there's not just CBD. You got THCA, THCB, you got CBG, you got CBN, all these different types. But again, there's propaganda around this, so they're not going to teach us the truth about this plant. But here's the powerful thing. Again, now you know you've got a system inside of you that resembles the chemicals in this plant. You know the two main types of cannabinoids in cannabis are THC and CBD. In your body, you've got two chemicals that resemble those. So in the plant, you've got THC and CBD. In your body, actually in your brain, there's one called 2-AG, yeah? That resembles CBD. And then there's one called anandamide. You guys can do your research on this. This is inside of your body. In other words, you don't even have to use the plant as long as you know how to activate your endocannabinoid system. And anandamide acts like THC. It can give you that high. And some of you may have experienced that high if you're doing something that you love. You can, maybe not you, but I can always tell when someone's activating their endocannabinoid system because they're experiencing that natural high. Easiest way to experience that natural high is to do what you love. Watch anyone doing what they love, you can see them experiencing a natural high. A good example for me, you guys can think of your own good examples, but when I used to see Usain Bolt running, yeah? Before a race and after a race, he just looked like he was on a natural high. Everyone else was serious, the race is about to start, and Usain Bolt just looked like he was on a high. You know, he's smiling, he's doing his poses, he's chatting to people, he's just on a high. Not because he smokes, because he's activated his endocannabinoid system, which is a system that is in every single one of us. And again, there's a reason why you don't know this stuff. So when it comes onto the CBD oil, it has various benefits. Various benefits for your body, for some people who suffer from, what do they call it? Autoimmune conditions like fibromyalgia or lupus or anything like that. It can help with that. Menstrual cycle, arthritis, diabetes, chronic pain, nausea. It can also help with depression, anxiety, autism, epilepsy, all of that sort of stuff. Very, very powerful, yeah? And when I was doing my research on this was years ago, I was like, wow, now I understand why people take these oils and how and what it's actually doing to the body. It's activating our endocannabinoid system. So we can get these chemicals from the plant or we can activate them ourselves. And when we activate them, even if we're using the oil, it can improve all of these things. And you got to think, since we had the pandemic, all of these things have gone through the roof. Anxiety and depression has gone through the roof. High blood pressure, diabetes. Everyone's starting to have sleep issues. Asthma, arthritis, joint pain, seizures, mental health issues, yeah? And this is the reason why my company, the Hidden Science Academy, we created our own. So we've got our own product. It's actually sold out right now because we've been selling it all throughout the year. But this is our CBD product. And I don't have any on me today, but if anyone's interested, you can come see me on my desk and you can pre-order some for next week because I'm getting some in next week. So this is my CBD and it helps with all of these things here. We've been getting amazing results. People have been talking about it. And again, we've been selling it throughout the whole year. So that's mine if you want to come and see me at my desk and pre-order yours for next week. And with regards to my book, again, that's the reason why I feel like my book is different because no other book's going to tell you the importance of the endocannabinoid system and the fact that the endocannabinoid system is connected to your melanin. I allow those who get the book to read about that. But I've actually got a whole section on that. Because again, a wise man once said to me, if you're going to write a book, you got to make sure you come from a different angle. And he said something along the lines of, if you're trying to search for a book and find an answer to something, and you can't find that answer, that's the Most High saying that you need to write that book. Yeah? And I always, I don't know if it was a download from the Most High, but I always knew there was a connection between melanin and cannabis. I don't know why, I just knew there was a connection. Because my question was, why do we love this plant so much? Why do we smoke it so much? Yeah? And why this plant? Out of all the millions of plants in the world, why that plant? I knew there was a connection. I found it out. I realized there was no book that showed the connection between melanin and cannabis. So mine is the first one, and that's what makes my book so different. So anyone who's interested, my book is out there for sale. It's £25. If you get it today, you can get it signed, obviously, or it is on Amazon. You guys can purchase it on Amazon. And that is my time. My name is Leon Marshall, and thanks for listening. Thank you.